Alrighty, what's up everybody? It's time for the 2021-2022 draft grades. Review grades. Remember, this isn't me grading who has the best team. I'm grading everyone's drafts. Taking into account your keepers, your budget, and what I believe your biggest needs were coming into the draft. I also took into account any pre-draft trades that you made. We'll break it down. I'll do a summary, give you your grade, and explain why. I wrote it all down. I'm gonna go through it all, and then I'll post like a little thing in the group me and on the Facebook page of what the grades were at the end. So, without further ado, Tanner. Tanner had $134 for 9 players. I had his biggest needs as a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and a running back 1. Tanner got a great value and what seems to be a sure bet running back 1 with Najee Harris at $65. He got a good value and a consistent wide receiver 1 with Adam Thielen, but the rest of his wide receivers will need to pop off if he plans on having a good wide receiver 2 and 3. And we're talking like Rondale Moore, Terrace Marshall, all high up, Elijah Moore, all high upside guys, but depending on a rookie. Granted, receivers works out better than running backs typically, but still. He does have Michael Gallup, who remains to be seen how he'll do this year. Grade A-. Why? Najee was a great buy, and Thielen is consistently putting up solid numbers. Keeping Kelsey helps him a ton. He made that pre-draft move for Kelsey. And Tanner's plethora of running backs are great. Relying on a group of Callaway, Gallup, and 3 rookie wide receivers to be his wide receiver 2 and 3 is a gamble, but I'm sure he'll figure it out. A- for Tanner. Mike, $120 for 6 players, needs RB1, RB2, and that's pretty much it. So Mike went out and got his guy. Can't fault him for that. Derrick Henry for $92. He didn't need much else. He drafted his QB of the future in Trevor Lawrence for $9, which counts him out from keeping Josh Allen for next year. And he spent $16 on Juju. Grade B. Why? While Henry was clearly Mike's guy, and I can't fault him for going to get his guy, he easily could have gotten him and another running back too, and put Moss in the flex if he spent the $16 from Juju and the $9 from Lawrence on a running back. Relying on Zach Moss as a RB2 is a big risk, but his wide receivers should hopefully pick up the slack. Those wide receivers are loaded. B for Mike. Greg, $128 for 12 players. He needs a running back 1, running back 2, and a quarterback. Probably still needs all 3 of those things. Summary, Greg kept one of the best 2 wide receivers in the game, Devontae Adams, and then drafted the other one, Tyreek Hill, for $72. Greg's running back situation is grim as Fournette, David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, and Philip Lindsay make up his running back group. I love Matt Stafford. I think he's going to have an MVP caliber season. But $13 of my dollars might be a little bit too steep considering his running back situation. Grade D+. Why? Can't just punt running back in fantasy football, especially in a 16-team league. He didn't need Tyreek Hill and spent $72 on him. He has Jalen Reagor, who is a solid wide receiver 3, and I don't think this was the plan Greg had coming into the draft. And he wasn't able to adapt in live time during the draft. So that's why Greg gets a D+. Matt, $125 for 12. Needs running back 2, wide receiver 2, and a flex. Summary, Matt went and got a very popular pick by experts this offseason in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 69 was a lot higher than I thought he would go, but he went and got him. And he paid a combined $43 for Amari Cooper and Courtland Sutton, both guys who for sure should be wide receiver 2s with wide receiver 1 upside. He didn't know it at the time, but lucked into Sonny Michel being traded to the Rams. So he will slot in at flex perfectly for Matt. Grade A. There isn't really a hole on Matt's team after the draft or any question marks. Grabbing those 2 wide receivers for 43 was huge. And Jerick McKinnon and Malcolm Brown could both be solid depth pieces for Matt. If you see me looking to the side, I'm looking at the baby monitor. Jackson's taking a nap. Dan, $133 for 11 players. He needed an RB, right here, an RB2, a wide receiver 1, and a QB. So Dan got good prices on Hopkins, in my opinion, at $56, Mike Evans at $40, and Tyler Boyd at $13. However, he failed to spend any money on an RB2 and a QB. Fields won't play right away, and Winston is iffy without Michael Thomas. Although I do like Winston, like I said, he's iffy without him. I can see Dan making a move with all those wide receivers for an RB2. Just remember, I'm doing this based off of the draft and not the trades that you've made after, so I know Dan has gone out and gotten a running back, but purely based off of the draft. Grade for Dan, C+. Why? No quarterback, no RB2, and an iffy flex, which is Naheem Hines. Only reason this isn't lower is because he did a great job at scoring 3 top 40 wide receivers, 2 of which are, in my opinion, in the top 10, Hopkins and Evans. So Dan made up for his lack of running back 2 with his 3 stud wide receivers. So good job drafting the wide receivers. Kevin, 121 for 11. Needed a wide receiver 2, a quarterback, and a flex. So for Kevin, I have life is easy when you're keeping 2 running back 1s and a wide receiver 1. So he had Chubb, Jones, and Claypool. Kevin nabbed Odell Beckham and Kupp for 31 each, and then Jarvis Landry for 19. He spent another 29 on Travis Etienne, RIP. While this isn't terrible, I think he would have been better off having Landry at wide receiver 3 and then using the 29 from Etienne and 31 from either OBJ or Kupp to grab a much better flex around $60. He's got a very high upside bench. Fitzpatrick at QB is very underrated and a good cheap play. I think Fitzpatrick will put up comparable numbers to Matt Ryan, so I think he'll score perfectly in a 16-team league. I gave Kevin a B-. I think that might be higher than Kevin was thinking. So like I said, I think he would have been better served spending $60 on a flex, as I previously stated, and he would have been just fine rolling with Jarvis Landry as his wide receiver 3. He could have had a true 3-headed running back beast between Chubb, Jones, and another RB if he chose to go that way. And then if he did that, and then you add in Claypool, OBJ or Kupp, and Landry, and we're talking about a potential top 3 or 4 team. But he didn't. So Kevin's a B- for his draft grade. Shane, 141 for 11. Needs RB1, wide receiver 2, and flex. So Shane broke the bank on Christian McCaffrey again. He made a great draft day trade to secure good running back 2 and Kareem Hunt. The biggest question mark for Shane is his wide receivers. Lamb is obviously a stud, a very popular player amongst experts. But who is throwing the ball to Brandon Cooks? And can Will Fuller stay healthy when he comes back from his 2-game suspension? And then Traquan should be a solid wide receiver 3, especially with Mike Thomas being out for at least 6 weeks now that he's been put on the PUP list. Grade B- for Shane. Why? Securing Christian McCaffrey is obviously huge, but Shane failed to secure his handcuff again. He did not budget for Chuba. I think he wanted him. He was bidding on him, but wasn't able to get him. I would have liked to see him budget for a safer wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3, or at least better ones. Fuller and Cooks and Pollard is a combined $26. Traquan would have been fine on wide receiver 3. And Watson at $3 is a $0 risk, high reward. I think that could end up being a good snag. We'll see what happens. Sounds like they're leaving him on the active roster, the 53-man roster, but he is not going to be active, so who knows what's going to happen with that. So Shane is a B-. Corey, 121 for 6. He needed a flex, a wide receiver 3, and a quarterback. So coming in with arguably the best keepers, it was going to be a hard task if Corey effed this up. He didn't. Barkley was his guy, and essentially Barkley is his flex because his other 2 running backs are RB1s. He drafted Devontae Smith and Devontae Parker to slot at wide receiver 3. He's got great depth, and he got Joe Burrow, who should put up phenomenal numbers in that offense. They have an improved offensive line. Obviously, they bring in his boy Jamar Chase. I think that offense is going to be a lot better than we've seen it. I give Corey an A+. Why? He executed his draft plan, plain and simple. He didn't get stuck with guys he didn't want or guys he didn't need. He really only went after guys he needed to go after and wanted. And there's, like with Matt, there's no question marks with his team. His best shot to win, probably ever, is this year. I think he did win once before, but this is as good opportunity as ever with this team here. So A+ for Corey. Nick Leon, $128 for 10 players. He needed a wide receiver 1, a running back 2, and a flex. So Nick comes in with 2 top 12 QBs, Dak and Baker. He probably should have thrown Dak back, and he would have been more than okay with Baker. He spent a fair price, I feel, on Chris Carson for $65 and Chris Godwin for $36. I think that's good market value. And while Godwin and Deontay Johnson aren't necessarily wide receiver 1s, they are high-end wide receiver 2s who will put up weeks as if they are wide receiver 1s. Noah Fant was a good grab at tight end, and he has good depth at wide receiver. I gave Nick a B. Why? Just very, very solid all around. He paid fair, appropriate prices for pretty much all of his players. He's got good depth, but the only reason it's a B and not maybe a B+ or an A- is $7 on a defense. Granted, I know it's Pittsburgh, but still, $7 on a defense, a little too much for me. Overall, good draft execution. That's a B for Nick. Pizzo, 138 for 10. He needed a running back 1, a wide receiver 1, and a wide receiver 2. Also, mind you, Pizzo was drafting over the phone and pursuing a guy who was had a knife during this, so hats off to Pizzo. Made a questionable draft day trade by giving away Kareem Hunt, who he could have kept for $18, for Rojo for $20 and Tua 3. Hunt would have been a better keep over both of those two combined. Whatever. But he made some great buys. Pizzo, when he showed up, he went and got the guys that he wanted and wasn't afraid to spend. He got Kyle Pitts for $27, Jamar Chase for $25, Josh Jacobs for $64. And you could do far worse at running back than Jacobs, Henderson, and Rojo. Just ask Greg. He'll need a solid wide receiver 3 now that Hilton is hurt. But Chase and Pittman should produce at a very high level. And Pitts will put up numbers like Kittle and Kelsey. I gave Pizzo a grade of a B+. And why? Drafting Hilton for $6 was a boneheaded move after keeping Pittman. And he's already hurt, of course. Pizzo wasn't scared to spend money and came away with some very good players. I give Pizzo about 7 weeks before he forgets his login information and doesn't set a lineup for 3 straight games, knocking him out of the playoffs. So, good job, Pizzo. B+, Pizzo. Parker, a.k.a. Deontay. He needed a running back 1, a running back 2, and a flex. So, summary, coming in with all 3 wide receiver slots filled, good ones, too, and a rising tight end, Parker decided to ball out on tight ends and roll with Melvin Gordon and Devin Singletary as his top 2 running backs. He $59 spent between keepers and the draft at tight end position. I do like Singletary this year, but not at $16 and not as his RB2. Waddle and Mike Thomas were good buys in the low teens. Grade was an F. Why? Literally didn't need a tight end or a wide receiver. Didn't need one at all. Needed wide running back the most. Spent $82 on tight ends and wide receivers, and only $35 on running backs. I don't know if Deontay told Parker. Maybe we should have. It's not a PPR league. That's just unacceptable. Deontay should buy him out and delete him from his contacts. F. Joey, 125 for 7. He needed a running back 1, a wide receiver 1, and a flex. So Joey comes in with a top 5 quarterback and a pair of good wide receiver 2s, great wide receiver 2s, who either of those two, Ruggs or Judy, could pop off as a wide receiver 1 this season. We'll see. If Swift becomes what Detroit envisions, and they've talked about this, is they want him to be Alvin Kamara, their version of Alvin Kamara, his team could be very dangerous. Dylan makes for a really good flex, and Tanyan was a beast as a rookie, and then Joey went ahead and grabbed Zeke, and then Julio for only $35. I gave Joey a B+. He had great keepers. He had a great draft. The only thing keeping Joey from an A was keeping Darius Geis. B+ for Joey. JT, 130 for 10. I needed a running back 1, running back 2, and a wide receiver. So a few pre-draft trades allowed me to keep all my wide receiver positions. Losing Akers was a big loss. And then obviously I traded Miles Sanders. Was able to grab a legit running back 1 with Joe Mixon and a hopeful running back 2 in Trey Sermon. I know you guys have all seen the stats I posted to 49ers not named Raheem Mostert. I did overpay because I waited and got sucked into inflation. And then Akers and Lance at $2 each helped secure a future. And Ramondre Stevenson was a great buy at $1. B+. Why? Overpaid on Mixon and Trey Sermon. Waited too long thinking I'd get them cheaper. But I paid for what was available. Both were top. However, if you could look at my sheet, both were at the top of my target list. And then grabbing Trey Lance and Cam Akers, that cheap, should not go unnoticed. So B+. Mason, 131 for 9. Needed a running back, any running back, wide receiver 2, and a flex. So David Montgomery and Chase Edmonds should do well enough to give Mason his running back 1 and 2. He spent his money smartly, conservatively, grabbed DJ Moore, who was a wide receiver 1 for only $34, and Mike Davis for his flex at $39. I don't mind him, but he grabbed... Who did I say? But grabbed Lamar Jackson for $36. And then let's not forget that he kept a kicker that just got cut and then drafted another kicker for $2. Grade C+. Why? Kept a kicker who was on the bubble and then spent $2 on a kicker. So that's why he's in the C's. And more reasons. DJ Moore, great buy at $34. But why spend $36 on Lamar Jackson and $39 on Mike Davis? You already got Big Ben. You kept him. You could have combined that money, 36 and 39. You're looking at $75. And you could have had another top 12 running back. You could have had your boy Najee Harris. You could have had CEH. Could have had Joe Mixon probably. Could have had Josh Jacobs. Got a very good team, but the team is good. But I think you could have drafted much better and had an even better team. So that's why you get a C+. Tim, $120 for 12 players. Needed a running back 2, a wide receiver 3, and a flex. Tim made 2 pre-draft trades to get a wide receiver 1 and an RB 1 with Sanders and Woods. Tim then snagged Keenan Allen for $40 and Robbie Anderson for $16. Javonte Williams for $26 when Mixon had just gone for $75 and Sermon for $30. I think getting Williams at $26 right after that was a great job by Tim. Michael Carter for $25 was a little bit iffy, especially with the rumblings that Tevin Coleman and Ty Johnson have been having great camps, and it's not necessarily Michael Carter's job. So I thought $25 was a bit iffy there. But I think in the future, that's Michael Carter's backfield. So I gave Tim a grade of an A-. Why? Tim can decide between Higgins, Anderson, Williams, and Carter as to who will be his flex each week. So it's a good problem to have. Chuba should get work and is an injury away from easily being an RB2. And his wide receivers are loaded. Great draft for having $120 and needing 12 players. So that's a great job by Tim. A-. We got one left, Logan, $120 for 10 players. He needed a running back 2, a wide receiver 1, and a quarterback. Logan made a great pre-draft trade to get Jonathan Taylor for $45. And while I felt that wide receiver 1 was his biggest need, Logan doubled down on an Ayuk breakout and spent $86 on Delvin. Mecole at 13 is a nice pickup. Lots of hype around him this season. And Matt Ryan for $3. Matt Ryan's a sure thing for 4,000 yards and 25 plus touchdowns. So that should be just fine for $3. I gave Logan a grade of B+. Why? A trio of Ayuk, Hollywood Brown, Jacoby Myers, and Mecole Hardman should be fine for him at wide receiver, but none of them are a sure bet wide receiver 1. So there might be weeks where some of those guys put up duds. Love Tyler Higbee this year. I think he's going to be great at tight end, especially with no Gerald Everett, so that was a great buy. And then Jamal Williams should be a very solid flex, especially if the Lions do go with that whole Kamara, Latavius Murray approach that they're talking about. And then having Cook and Jonathan Taylor will win you games by themselves. So B+ for Logan. So a quick recap of the grades. Tanner's A-. Mike is a B. Greg is a D+. Matt is an A. Dan C+. Kevin B-. Shane B-. Corey A+. Nick B. Pizzo B+. Parker F. Joey B+. JT B+. Mason C+, Tim A-, and Logan B+. That is it. You got your draft grades. Leave comments. Let me know what you think. Embrace debate, baby. Let's go.